What do you think is the biggest issue facing Regina?
The biggest issue I see right now is the drug and homeless crisis. I feel we're in an epidemic right now because so many young people are dying
Oh,
and older people.
yeah. What would you do about that?
My idea is to create 4 detox centers around Regina. And I know there's processes right now and wait lists for those that want to get help. And they can't. Like the drug situation right now is so different than it was 10 years ago. You know, the AA model and the NA model, they're different because today the drugs are more, they're deadly, right? They're killing people every day.
And how, would you seek to partner with different levels of government to get those centers set up? Or what is your vision for those 4 new centers?
I would ask, like collaborate with federal and provincial for funding and groups for this because we would need a specialized team of clinical and holistic, like both teams. And like right now, there's, like I said, there's a wait list to get into treatment centers, detox centers, and so there needs to be more. And it seems to be like the homelessness and the drug issue are kind of like together. So that's what I see happening in our city. And it's really, really sad. Like you drive down 11th Avenue, and it's just really sad to see the people with nowhere to go, and they have their bags or they're on the drugs, and some are laying there. You have to stop and help them. But for that, the drug, I'm talking about crystal meth and fentanyl, that Narcan doesn't really help them to recover. So yeah, I see that as a huge crisis in our city right now.
What do you think is the key to successful treatment for those drugs in particular? Because as you say, they seem to have a real hold on people beyond maybe the drugs of 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's different because, again, psychosis, right? You need specialized, like, I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but you would need specialized people in detox centers for that. And long term, it's not like 1 week detox or 2 weeks because that affects every part of their being. And I don't know what it's like being on it, but, I've had family members and friends who have lost loved ones from that drug.
What is the key to a safe and vibrant downtown, do you think?
It's collaborating with all business sectors and partnerships, with City of Regina. As mayor, that's what I plan to do is collaborate with agencies, organizations, businesses especially, and partner and get together and think of what we can do for downtown.
What would you like to see there?
Great partnership, of course, great collaboration, because I say collaboration is the key. It works, we can come up with solutions. And of course, the food security too is a big one. Like people are hungry and, they're always wanting food, right? So if we could all collaborate in the city of Regina and have kitchens put up across, throughout Regina for food security.
How would you address some of these issues of people without homes or people who don't have enough food to eat and not keep rising the property taxes that citizens are paying, which is really the city's only real way of getting money, besides from the province, of
And
course.
that's what I've heard so much lately is the taxes. Like I met with a small group of businesses, and I asked them if there was one thing you could change in the city of Regina, what would that be? And the one in his business said his taxes keep rising and rising. So with the taxes, that's a big one. And
That is a big one. How do you
it is,
keep taxes low but also help all these
yeah,
people who need help?
yeah. And it would, again, like collaboration, coming up with different solutions. With all the taxes rising, I guess provincial and provincial government, taxing on clothing, even food. Like I couldn't believe it. Like even myself living as a, single person, and the food expenses, just I noticed the cost is gone up so high. Clothing.
We've heard many civic leaders say they'd like more money from the provincial government. I'm assuming that is something you would also want, more revenue sharing to address
Yes.
some of these issues.
For sure, definitely advocate for that.
Yeah. What would you tell people about why they should vote for you, Bevan?
Being a woman, of course, and I do have my master's in leadership from the University of Regina, and I've worked as a director in leading programming to prevent harm to families and children, creating projects, programs. So I led teams that do that. And I think being an example as a leader works well for teams, right? We all work together. And that's my plan, to work with Regina Executive Council as a team. And I know we can't agree to disagree, but yet still come together and plan to keep our city of Regina safe.
What do you think that would do that we don't have now? What would that provide for the city, that kind of collaboration that you would do?
That we don't have now. Can you say that again?
Yeah, you said that if people vote with you, you'll lead by example, and you've got a lot of experience in leadership. I guess what would that do for Regina that would make it better here?
It would make it a more of a stronger, inclusive Regina too, because we have a rich diversity, right? We have our new Canadians, we have our Indigenous peoples, we have our settlers, we have the marginalized groups. My vision is just to create that strong, inclusive Regina. And how to do that? I think collaboration is the key, bringing all our groups together and working with, Executive Council, City of Regina. Especially, too, there's another group, the youth. People say, oh, our youth are our future. Well, our youth are here right now. Why can't we have them, collectively in each area, like with all the schools in Regina, the high schools, have a collective youth together, come together and hear their voice and get them to share their concerns too on how they could provide their input for a better Regina.
I know the mayor's been meeting with teenagers from North Central, but you're thinking kids from all over the city should have more say in.
Yes, the whole city. Like I hear that all the time, the future. The youth and children are our future. Well, they're here right now. Let's meet with them. In fact, that's part of my campaign is I'm going to be meeting with, not just with North Central, but all the organizations and with the youth, First Nations University, Youth Association, Student Association.
Is there anything I haven't asked you, Bevan, that you would want voters to know?
The clean water. We need clean water here in the cathedral area. I was at the Cathedral Forum, and it's really alarming that there's, it's affecting everyone. Very unhealthy. It's a health risk, and that's another state of emergency there for our city. We want our families, our unborn children, to have that clean water. So the other one, of course, honoring Indigenous history and reconciliation, and not just by symbolic gestures, but actually moving forward towards that truth and reconciliation, the calls to action.
What would that look like to you if the city did more action and less symbolic?
Oh, it would be better. It would really improve the strength of Regina, right? Like to include Indigenous people. After all, we are all on Treaty 4 territory. I am Cree, Saulteaux, but Regina's my home. I've lived here for a long time. So yeah, that would really...
What's that look like to you, Bevan, reconciliation in action in this city?
It was like honoring, honoring today and acknowledging the past, that horrible, dark past that was done, through the residential schools, and just recognizing more Indigenous people and more opportunities for them as well. But in my campaign, I want to include everybody. That's why I say inclusive. Diversity inclusive is so important.
Have you thought about that Dewdney on that name and whether you'd strip it? Because that's been up for debate.
Oh, I would definitely. because that name, I would definitely would like to change that name, plan on it. I do plan on it. It is in my, honoring our Indigenous history and reconciliation. That's part of where I want to go. And because that's intergenerational trauma right there that continues today. And it's not going to happen overnight to change the name, because we need to partner up with all the business sectors and or the groups that were planning this name change, and do it, in a strategic planning way. It maybe it'll happen. Well, I wouldn't say it'll happen in a month, but have a timeline on how we can do this. What can we do? Because I know it's going to cost money, and I know there was mention of millions of dollars to change it.
Well, the city manager said she felt it could be done for a nominal cost. There was some debate about that, but Nikki Anderson thought it could be done if the political will was there.
And we have our Indigenous leaders too, and we have first we have our federal government, provincial government, and then us, Regina municipal government. Then we have our Indigenous government. Yeah. So if we can all come together, we can probably change that name
Bevan,
sooner.
Thank you for coming in and talking with me this morning.
Thank you.